Next part is with respect to test execution. Okay, wherein the objectives are to appreciate the purpose of automation of testing process. Okay, wherein you are avoiding the manual testing task. Okay, human interference is been completely terminated. It has been avoided over there. You need not have any human interference over there. Okay, then after that, to recognize the components of scaffolding, which is most important with respect to this part, and you have to understand certain key dimensions involved in test automation process, wherein you are going to study about the controllability and observability and the degrees of generality with respect to drivers and stubs, and you are also studying comparison based oracles and self checks. Okay, these are the objectives associated with this particular section. Okay, what do you mean by automation of test execution? Okay, designing the test cases and a test suite is a very creative task. Okay, which involves intellectual activity. You have to design the test cases in such a way that you are going to detect or come up with the faults as much as possible, and it requires human judgment. Okay, and executing the test cases should be automatic, it shouldn't be manual. Okay, and nowadays if you ask any of the employees from IT industries, the testing process is almost 99% it is automated, no manual testing of a code. Okay, wherein you are going to design the test specification or the test suite only once, and you are going to execute it n number of times. Test automation, basically it will separate the manual process of testing from the mechanical process of test execution. Okay, after that, how can I write or derive the test cases from test specification? Okay, test design, whenever you design the test, okay, it is going to yield the test case specification rather than having the concrete data. Okay, for example, you will say that a large positive number should be given as the input, rather than you will not emphasize on the specific number like this. And the sorted sequence comma length should be greater than 2. Okay, you will arrive at certain generic things rather than arriving at a concrete data. And the test specification will omit the details of execution. Okay, then the generation of test cases will create concrete executable test cases from test case specification. The process of arriving at the test cases from test case specification, I call it as generation. Okay, then example they have given here, tool chain for test case generation and execution. Okay, after that we have very important concept that you have to focus. Okay, that is scaffolding. If everybody can view the screen, I think so. What is this? You might have observed whenever if there is a construction of a big buildings or apartments, okay, they'll construct some temporary structure. Okay, that temporary structure, we can take the same analogy to define scaffolding in software testing. What do you mean by scaffolding? Okay, here you can see everybody in the real world scenario, whenever certain building is under construction, they have something, a temporary structure like this. Okay, same temporary structure, I refer it as a scaffolding in software testing. That is code that is produced to support development activities, especially for testing purpose. I call it as scaffolding. And please make a note of this point. Scaffolding is not a part of the product as seen by the end user or customer because it is a temporary code that I am using for testing purpose. Okay, it is not a part of the product. You are not going to include that particular code in the final source code. Okay, whatever code I am defining, it is a temporary one which is basically used for a testing purpose, and it will include certain things called test harnesses, stubs, and drivers. Okay, we look into these things in detail now. What do you mean by a test driver? Okay, we have come across a word called drivers, device drivers. Okay, in order to run any of the devices, for example, if you want to have a audio or video utilities in your particular system, then a software or a driver should be installed first in order to detect such devices into your desktop.